mission, solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind, in the darkness all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be, for justice wheels keep turning, granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. When these crime busters run, no victims left to pay. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Granny fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voiceless and the missing, she'll stand tall.
Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing tonight? Ginger Girl, good to see you. Kate, good to see you. Glad everybody's doing well. Awesome. We will go ahead and do our spotlight on the missing. We have Ariana Michelle Howard. She's been missing 3 days, guys, since June 6th, last seen in Prince William, Virginia, 17 years old. She was last seen wearing a blue polo Sonic work shirt and black pants. So if anybody knows where Ariana might be, what happened, anything about her disappearance, please call the Prince William Police Department or 911. All right. Let's see what we got going on. So yes, today we are talking, we're actually going to watch some more statement analysis. And we're going to try to find out, is Daniel blaming Malehya? What's going on, right? I haven't watched this video, so we'll be watching it together and reacting at the same time. So, but I'm curious. I'm curious to know. I wish there was more information on this case. I really do. And, we have no way of knowing if new leads are coming into the RCMP. There has been false rumors that RCMP has taken down everything about Jack and Lilly off of Facebook. They have not, guys. That the ex-mother-in-law has shut down her Facebook. She has not, guys. So I can tell you that for sure. I looked it up today myself. So none of that has happened. The only thing I can say is that the RCMP has different pages for a lot of the different cities in Canada, bigger cities, Alberta, I forget what else I saw, and then a regular one for the RCMP. Jack and Lilly are not on that one. They are under the one RCMP in Nova Scotia. So, I just like to address any misinformation that might be out there, and not saying anything bad about anybody that has put it out there. They maybe just, didn't realize that there's more than one page for RCMP. And as far as the ex-mother-in-law, I don't know why that was. But hers is still up there as well. So, let's go ahead. We're going to just get started and discuss. Let me see. I'll present my screen. All right. And we're back to, well, we've got both today. We've got
If you scan through a new statement and don't really know how to begin or where to begin, remember my plates check. Priorities, leakage, avoidance, intention, and deception. Priorities. A 911 call. Hello? Yes. I just got home and I saw my wife lying on the kitchen floor in a pool of blood. What are the priorities? First, being nice, yeah? Hello? Not expected. Not expected in a moment of panic. And then, more than anything, alibi establishment. I just got home. That is more important than asking for help for your wife, who you may want to think could still be alive. The priority is your wife has been stabbed, whether or not she is still alive. It is not expected for somebody to show a desire to first mention he or she wasn't home when it happened. A leakage.
Can you hear me now?
Example from Peter Hyatt. The stepfather of a missing child said, I feel drained. And the child's remains were found in a storm drainage. A storm drain. There are many ways to put this, other than saying I feel drained.
That's good.
Many different ways. But whatever comes to our minds for a reason. And our minds, no matter how able we think we are to lie or read a script, when it comes to talking, not just performing and reading, but reacting, we tend to leak information and tend to introduce experiential memories simply because we have to hold on to something. Katie Proudfoot is a great fabricator of false realities. However,
Katie Proudfoot is a great fabricator of false realities. Wow. We're not even talking about Katie, but that's funny. I find that really funny. And we know that's true. I mean, how many of us had a gut feeling about Katie without even having statement analysis? We knew that, right? I like what Ginger said. Each of our provinces do have different laws and regulations, so that would explain the individual pages. Yeah. And it helps to be able to personalize things that are going on in those provinces, right? Instead of, the whole country, right? So it's just like our different cities have different pages, Sumner County, right, has its own page, it makes sense. All right, let's continue on.
Simply continuing with a false narrative is not easy. You get lost. She gets lost a lot of different times. So people tend to hold on to something that is easier to think of. Then
Hello,
you have
K9.
avoidances. In
I
the
hope you're
case
feeling better.
of Malehya, her messages to the paternal grandmother of her two children, Jack and Lilly.
Hello, Brenda
She was
Jo.
asked, did they have their coats on? She said no. grandmother said, "Oh my God, they must be so cold." And by the way, it was like 40 Fahrenheit, 5
Oh, it was
Celsius,
really
of course,
cold, guys,
something
remember?
like that. Extremely cold. They didn't go out into the yard without their coats. No way. Daniel even told us they hate being cold and wet. And then Malehya changes the subject immediately and says, "I just want them." Even though the two women said, "Maybe we need to ask Belinda if there's this, it seems like there's something missing." No, there's nothing missing. That was the conversation and it didn't flow. So the attempt to make sense out of something or interpret something for people, oh, there must be something missing. Don't do that. Take it at face value. That is one of the biggest mistakes people make. That they say, "Oh, I guess what he meant to say was," never do that. But unless you're a very dismissive person and say, "Well, people say stuff." No, I've already highlighted that part. People just say stuff, but there are other things that people can say. And the language that they choose is absolutely essential. Intentions are very important. When you get an email, to be able to recognize, what does the person want from me? The intentions that Malehya has are to get people to look far away from her, get the Amber Alert going. She's trying to lead us towards something without committing to it. She cannot even tell us she believes that children were abducted. So if you cannot believe it, why do you expect RCMP to do that? And then she talks about just to let people know they are missing. Well, Amber Alerts are not really for that. What happened to your belief that they were abducted? You want the Amber Alert because it will make it look like you had nothing to do with that. There was no fault. Nothing happened in the home. The kids are far away. And deception, of course, is a huge one. If you tell me, I don't know what's going on in your mind when you're presenting Daniel as an innocent person, because you don't think he's innocent, but you're telling the public, the people watching your channel, that he's innocent. That's deception. And that can also trigger in another statement, an upcoming statement, you desire to say, "to be honest," as in, I haven't been perfectly honest with you, but now this time I really am. And then we're talking about sensitivities. And that was something I pointed out in anonymous author identification, which I applied when I examined the private messages allegedly from Daniel, which wasn't confirmed. But the sensitive relationship to Malehya made me feel comfortable to assume that these statements are in fact from Daniel.
Everything's been searched that we can really dive into at this time. They have over 12,000 man hours searched in the woods, and they're planning on doing more, which I'm really grateful for.
Dive into.
Everything's been searched that we can really dive into at this time. They have.
And then he blinks. So I agree, this can be something that
K9, that's false information. They haven't scrubbed anything. I will show you. RCMP has different pages, and you have to go to the Nova Scotia page. You can see right away at the top, featured, right there. And then their last, they post a lot, 6 hours, but their last post for Daniel and or Jack and Lilly was the 25th. Nothing in June so far, but this is all June. But they have not scrubbed everything. It is still on here. This is May 30th. May 29th. May 28th. There's May 25th, International Missing Children's Day. That was their last big post on RCMP. But then if you scroll down, there are more. So they have not scrubbed everything. You just have to go to the right RCMP page on Facebook in order to see it. So I did address that. So Daniel's statement here bugs me. I thought he did say that, Ginger, he did say he would originally search forever, didn't he? Yeah. And I think this is his last interview so far, right? So let's go back a little bit and continue.
So
on.
I agree, this can be something that we want to notice and not dismiss. Body language is not a part of statement analysis. That doesn't mean we need to close our eyes and have tunnel vision. Look at that.
Well, sometimes in search, but everything's been searched that we can really dive into at this time.
A double blink.
Dive into, I don't like that.
That can
They have
indicate
over 12,000.
this is the performance part. I'm not going to disagree. But be careful with these people, these behavioral so-called experts. Be very, very careful. Very careful. Very careful. They've been wrong too many times.
Every day when I wake up, it feels like I'm reliving a nightmare of May 2nd. But
May 2nd. He feels the need to remind us it's May 2nd. Not the evening of May 1st. Remember priorities? May 2nd. Reliving the nightmare. What nightmare? Did something happen at night? But the main?
the main feelings from sadness have just turned to anger because there's no evidence.
Even though there's no evidence, people still suspect you.
Why is it that every time we have suspicions about somebody, right? I mean, because we've been suspicious about Chris and Katie, right? They use that word as well. There's no evidence. And now Daniel's using that word. That talks about a crime, guys. Right? You know, I think if my child was missing, I'd say, they can't find anything. We don't know what's going on, right? I wouldn't be using that word, I don't think. Hello, Kent. Good to see you. So, yeah, just kind of different.
And you wouldn't call it evidence. You don't look for evidence when a child is missing. Katie Proudfoot said the same thing. We are looking for any signs, any clue. Where do I search next? You don't stand there and say, oh, guess what? Let me tell you what happened. So you need to rely on my interpretation. There's no evidence, so go home, everybody. Nothing to see here, folks. No.
Yep.
You will look for clues. You will not rest. You don't talk about how much you have done. Because
Think about how Daniel is talking here compared to how Jason Ayler talks, or how Seth talks, or how Brandy talks, right? They don't give up. They don't give up. You know, Daniel went from, I'm going to search forever. I'm the only one, right? I'm going to search forever, to we've searched everywhere. Yeah, nothing more to see here, right? Nothing more to see here. The police have done everything that they could do. There's nothing more. That's a really good point, Kent, because I think they probably watched some of these other cases and knew what they had to do by the statement when he said they took their boots, but they forgot their coats. Yeah. Yes, they talk about their children. They don't talk about no evidence. We've searched everywhere. They talk about their kids. What does Seth say? He's my heart. I need him with me. I need him home. Right? Jason Ayler, all you have to do is he's putting shorts out all the time saying, buddy, I love you more than you'll ever know. Breaks my heart every time I see one of his shorts. You bring up a really good point. I like the last part. Now they just got to live with it and hope the rest of us don't find out, right? But guess what? It's been a year for Sebastian. Nobody is giving up. Now, may not be talking about Sebastian every single day. The reason that I don't is because I'm not going to repeat the same things all the time. There's just nothing to talk about in his case other than he is gone. But I think I bring him up almost every night, don't I? And I put my shorts out about Sebastian every day to grab attention about him. So we're not giving up. And we could say the same about Jack and Lilly as well, right? Won't give up. Won't give up. So if they're hiding something, it doesn't matter how long. Doesn't matter how long. You know, think about it. People are not giving up on Sebastian. They haven't given up on Summer Wells. There's a new PI on the case in Summer Wells, and he says he has a really good lead. I don't know, guys. I hope he is right. He has turned it in, so let's see what happens. Daniel seems to know how to get a good fan club online. Oh, fan club. Yeah, I'm not a fan. That's all I can say. I'm not saying he is totally guilty, but I'm not saying he's totally innocent either. I think both him and Malehya have some guilty knowledge, and I'm holding judgment, total judgment, until law enforcement leads us somewhere. But that's why we look at statement analysis, guys, because it does help us to figure out who's lying, who's telling the truth. And when you stop talking about the kids, something's wrong. Something is wrong. Remember, Katie and Chris didn't really talk about Sebastian, but then on the year interview, oh, she did. She did talk about him. But I think that was because she knew she needed to. She watched Deception Detective Mike DeMann and others that gave her a hint, just like Kent said, watching other people. And so they're trying to do what they're supposed to do. But she still couldn't talk to him directly. It was third person. I am conflicted with Jack and Lilly because the RCMP said they passed away. With Sebastian, there was no evidence he didn't survive and possibly left in a vehicle. Yeah. I agree. It is a little more disheartening for Jack and Lilly. I don't think I've ever, at least I don't think I've ever followed a case where law enforcement has said right from the beginning, pretty early on, that they didn't believe the children were alive anymore. Whereas law enforcement has stated that there's no reason to believe that Sebastian is not alive. So, two different scenarios, right, as far as what possible outcome might be. I mean, either way, I don't think that either way, they need to be brought home, alive or not, right? Same thing with Sebastian. They need to be brought home. You know, Dylan, I'm really afraid that Dylan has been washed out to the ocean. Unfortunately. And for that, I really grieve for his dad and his mom, right? I really grieve for them because that cannot be easy. You know, I don't know that Jason's ever going to accept that, to be honest with you. I really don't. If that indeed is the truth. But let's continue on.
Whatever you have done, that may be a lot, but it is worthless to you because it didn't bring your children back. As a matter of fact, you wouldn't even think about what you have already done. You would think about what else can you do. You think there's an abductor? How about you call out to the abductor? Because there are really only three scenarios. They walked off, they got abducted, something happened in the house. So, you already told us they didn't walk off. Has Daniel expressed? Well, he talked about New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island. But he hasn't committed to a belief that they must have been abducted. So if you know that nothing happened in your house, or you don't know of anything to have happened in your house, the only assumption would be an abduction. Because a 4-year-old cannot get far in 20 minutes through the thick forest. You would be sure somebody took them and not only insinuated and suggested and lay out reasons why, because they talk to everybody without saying, he doesn't say, you know, they are very talkative and I'm worried they are abducted. I think they have been abducted. That would be reliable. And then why do you think that? Because they talk to everybody. Because they're talkative. They're not afraid of strangers. But in
Hello, Brenda. Good to have you here. Alberta. Interesting. We also, not only is Kent from Canada, but so is Ginger. So we're glad to have Canadians here. And it's a very safe place to express your opinion. We enjoy that. We don't necessarily have to agree at all. We just, can agree to disagree because we're adults. We don't do hate and drama here. So we hope you're up for that. All right. So they're not, and that is something that I think the mob crew put out earlier today, that Daniel and Malehya, according to family members, believes that the children have been abducted. My only question with that is their water references. So, you're very welcome, Brenda. I try to do that for everybody. So their water references are disturbing, right? Dive in. What was the water reference that Malehya used? Trying to remember. Daniel talking about running in waist deep water. It's just disturbing. It really is. So let's continue on.
instead, it is only seed planting, very careful seed planting, without committing to anything. Anything that sidetracks people from looking at him. And that's where the anger comes from. And maybe there is sadness about what had taken place.
Dissolved as of after 1 month.
After 1 month, there's no evidence. Go home, everybody. Nothing to see here. It's already been a month. Give it up. Give it up. It's discouraging.
Tell us that in a
We're
year,
still
Daniel.
out here. We're still looking. Please help us. Don't give up. We need answers. We need answers. We need answers. Not there's no evidence. He already sees himself in court. You can't prove anything. There's no evidence. Well, Mr. Martel, you said this and you da. Well, where are the bodies? There's no evidence. That's what he's thinking about. And it's already taken a toll. Some of you have suggested this could be leakage. And I agree. Doesn't have to be, but could be. As in a toll road that he may have taken. And if it took 3 weeks for them to look at the camera footage of neighbors, then maybe the RCMP, and as I was told by some of you, maybe they don't have that great of a track record when it comes to missing people or high-profile cases. So maybe we have another Tennessee situation here, right?
No. No.
It is really, really, the longer you work in this field, the more you realize how many mistakes are made in law enforcement. So rely on police, well, unless you are in it. That is why we expect parents of missing children, such as Seth, to do more and not just sit back and wait for police. That's why we have volunteer searchers. And it's not just incompetence, indifference, or it's a lack of manpower too.
Okay, so first of all, the searches done in Jack and Lilly case were not volunteer searchers. They were trained searchers. So, hello, Cheryl. Good to see you. Okay, let me see what we're missing here. Yeah, Kent, as far as your theory, that, in my mind, that's a possibility. We just don't know, right? And thank you for putting in your opinion. I appreciate that. The RCMP are slow and tedious, but they're usually accurate and have all their ducks in a row. When they lay charges, they get their man or woman. Right? We can only hope. I don't like that Daniel's saying there's no evidence, but you know what? He doesn't know that because the RCMP are not going to tell him if they have any evidence, especially if the evidence points to him, right? They're not going to tell him what they have. They're not going to lay their cards out on the table yet, guys. They're just not. Yes, I do try to stick to truth and facts, Brenda. I'm I'm just not one that likes to spread misinformation at all. And most my mods can even tell you that. I'm just not one that likes to go there or even have drama. They go bye-bye pretty quickly if they try to do drama here. Yes, we do have a conflict. If our CMP are saying no abduction and the mother and boyfriend are saying abduction. And remember that when family takes a child away, that's not considered by law enforcement to be an abduction. Okay. He did in the beginning though, Kent. He said it once. he talked about it was 40 Celsius and it was extremely cold. I just kind of flew over it a little bit because we already laughed about that last night. But the mom and boyfriend right off the bat was saying that they wandered from home and they switched to abduction. Yeah. But Malehya was asking for an Amber Alert right from the beginning. And she even said, you know, abduction could be a part of that. Right. But she just wanted everybody to know because they had people that were texting them that didn't know the kids were missing. And, why didn't they do an Amber Alert? Well, you know, they don't do an Amber Alert if the child's not abducted. Yes, they are trained ground searchers and rescuers. At the end of the day, there's 3 sides to a story. Your side, my side, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. No worries. Yeah. That's why we listen to statement analysis, behavior analysis to try to figure out the truth. Are they always right? No. Are we always right? No. We can speculate, but we try to stick with facts as much as we can, right? Because when you have a missing child's case, you don't have answers. So you do try to take the facts and figure out what happened, right? And in this case, we have no scent going past the driveway, which tells me that scent could have been from a day that they went to school, right? It could have been a different day. So just like in Sebastian's case, we have no scent to really go 100% from, right? So what happened to the kids? Then you've got Daniel and Malehya both using water references, which is scary in itself. You know, what happened? Did some kind of an accident happen? I mean, I don't know. They call that familial abduction, but it's not considered like for law enforcement. It's not considered stranger abduction, which does require, well, a stranger abduction will usually get an Amber Alert. Familial, it depends, right? It depends on what they know for sure. Like if a non-custodial parent, well, for instance, the 3 little girls that were taken and ended up being red-rummed by their own father. Now, that was a non-custodial parent who took those children. An Amber Alert should have been called because they did know he had them. They did know the make and model of his vehicle. They dropped the ball there. An Amber Alert should have been done for them. Would it have made a difference? I mean, I don't know. Did he take them and immediately take their lives? I don't know. Yes, it could have been when the kids came home from school, cool temps and the rain preserves the sun. Yes. So I don't think that we can really go by that scent in itself, you know. And the reason that I don't believe it's an abduction is because of where it is. They live in a very remote area, you know. So that's why, I and others that have weighed in on this case, other professionals have said the same thing, right? Even Greg Hartley from the behavior panel said the odds of it being a stranger abduction are slim, very slim, right? All right, let's continue on.
Many detectives have later on, when a case gotten cold, said, I wanted to spend a lot more hours, a lot more time. I was getting close, but I was removed from the case because there was something else that came up that seemed to be more immediate. Similar to me, Sebastian Rogers we still don't have answers, but this is fresh. And we want to see what we can do. I've already concluded where I'm at when it comes to the case of Sebastian Rogers. I'm interested now in this one.
It's really taken a toll.
And the next thing we knew, it was quiet, and we get up and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids?
Well, you can also say there's body language here. She looks down after she says Daniel. So let me see this again. Let me not.
And he says no, and we get up instantly. We're looking outside, we're looking everywhere, yelling for them, and I instantly just call.
Everywhere is also, you would think about where you haven't looked yet and not say we have looked everywhere. Terry Bowersox, prime example. Somebody talks about searches. Where do you want people to look that professionals haven't already looked at? So he is, it's a form of gaslighting. You're not a professional. You have no business looking. They told us many times, everywhere has been searched. Everywhere in a 5 or 10 mile radius? You mean you went through every home, every basement? You dug up every yard? You brought the cadaver dogs to every single property within the radius? What do you mean you searched everywhere? No. you would look for any possibilities anywhere that hasn't been searched, much rather than making it so final. Everywhere has been searched.
Call 911 is just, I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky
You
children.
don't need to explain why you would call police. And I believe part of what Daniel said, that she asked, should I call police now? I believe she called her mother first and probably said a lot more than she told us. Gave a little bit more of an insight. And the mother said, you need to get the hell out of there. You need to remove yourself now, whatever the specific reasons may be. And I believe she listened to her mother, whom she didn't get along with at this particular time, because she felt like this was good advice now. This is no time to quarrel with her mother. They got themselves a lawyer. The mother probably said, listen, we have, because of our status, great legal representation. Don't need money for that. We need to make sure, we need to be preemptive now. And whatever happened there, this was not a healthy relationship. It didn't become a healthy, it became an unhealthy relationship. The Daniel you first met, he wants her to remember the Daniel that she first met, not think about the more recent Daniel, whatever it is that had taken place.
I agree with that. He does want her to think about the Daniel she first met. So there was something going on there. I'm not going to expound on the relationship with the mother. And the reason that I say that is because we don't know for sure what happened. They're not talking. So we have no facts. And I'm not gonna go there. Right? You see what's going on here. Oh, Kent, I'm really sorry to hear that. That's awful. Oh my goodness, that's horrible. I'm glad you're okay. But yeah, I'm really sorry for your loss. In your opinion, Jack and Lilly are alive and safe? I really hope so, Brenda. That would be awesome. I'm going to be honest, I have a hard time believing that because RCMP don't usually come out and say that. I mean, police don't come out and say early on that they don't believe the children are alive. So, you know, but nobody would be happier than me if they were. I would be so excited if they were. That would be just incredible. And that is true, K9. One door closes, another one opens, and that is very true. Oh, gotcha. Thank goodness for insurance sometimes, huh? Wow. They pulled a 3-year-old from the Columbia River. Oh my goodness, that's awful. That's horrible. It's poor parents. Yeah, I'm glad everybody is safe and not hurt, Kent. Oh my goodness. That's awful. So let's continue on.
Whatever the decline was, don't think about who I am now. Think about who I was. And again, references to water, the waterfall.
Children, they're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off.
Yep, they talk your ear off. Did Lily try to alert you that night because something happened to Jack, and did she talk your ear off? And maybe you didn't pay attention and you were on your phone. So that part came from Daniel's experiential memory as well. And he just.
So for some reason, and I'm not sure if we missed it, but Mike DeMann really feels like something happened to Jack first. I'm not sure why, but you're welcome, Kent. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Goodness. Yeah. The RCMP would have given me more hope if they said we checked the woods and now we are looking elsewhere. Yeah, I agree. They have not given us much hope at all. And that vigil, was a little bit different than Sebastian's vigils because you really got the sense of loss at Jack and Lily's, of permanent loss, than like Sebastian's vigils. And so I don't know, it was sad. It was really sad. I agree with you, Grant. If they are alive, that's great news for the children, but yes. Exactly. Somebody will, yeah. I mean, first of all, we do know that there was some kind of neglect, right? If what they're telling us about they heard the kids while they were dozing on and off in the bedroom, that's neglect, right? So they could be, for having said that and the kids went missing, they could be charged for that. Anything else? Yes, and the search, can you imagine how many thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that search costs? Yes. Lyme disease, tick bites, yes, all of it. There are laws that protect the indigenous. Is that why she went there? I'm just saying. God, I hate that word. But so yeah. But here's my question, Brenda and Ginger, Kent, you guys. You guys from Canada. So if it's discovered that Malehya had a hand, and this is all speculation, okay? I'm not saying I believe this, okay? I'm just putting this out there because I want to know the law. So if it is discovered that Malehya did have a hand in harming her children, Could she not be held accountable in a court of law in Canada because she's Indigenous? I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know without having to look it up. It protects Indigenous children. Okay. I agree. I agree, Kent. I think they're hoping that Daniel would lead them back. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. But if he stopped talking, that might be a little tougher, right? Which they've said he stopped talking. So I don't know if that's true or not. But the key words were said by the criminal investigator. But I want to know, if Malehya is guilty, can they charge her? If they discover that she had something to do with harming the children, can they charge her since she's Indigenous? Do you guys know? If you don't know, just say no. The rest of us want to know. I mean, I would think that they would be able to. He clearly mentioned charter rights when he spoke, which would include treaty rights. Wow. I understand about protecting the children, Brenda. I get that. Malehya is not a child, is what I'm saying. So it kind of sounds like you guys don't really know, or maybe don't want to say. And I would get that. I would get that. If she didn't, any protections in criminal cases. That's kind of what I thought. And she's not living on the reservation. You know, so she's not even living on the reservation to be protected. Completely protected. I mean, I realize she has protections, but interesting. That does bring an interesting aspect into this case, right? And that is why I've been glad to have like Ginger and Kent here, Brenda now, to help us to understand, you know, these people, right? Because there's an added element to this case that's not there in other cases that we have been following. It's like Sebastian's case, right? Somerwell's case. You don't see that. So the Aboriginal children's laws supersede the provincial laws. Gotcha. Gotcha. So the children are protected, and I get that. I totally get that. And understand it, right? Yeah, where baby Meadow was denied. Daniel, yeah. Yeah. That's right. Exactly. There was such a big question about them being approved upon going missing when they were rejected 3 times before. You know, that does make sense. Need to think of her tribe as a nation within a nation. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. So, yeah, and I've heard there's been, you know, I really, really appreciate you guys filling us in about that. I really do, because, you know, we can't go by our laws here in America for what's going on in Canada. Different laws. You've got the tribe and everything going on there. Totally different scenarios. We can't assume anything. You know, we have to know from people who live there what's going on, because it's different. It's totally different. Ginger and I were talking one day about, I have a tribe that's close to me. I'm not going to mention their name because if anybody's, I'm just not going to do it. But totally, totally different reputation than the tribe in Canada. Totally different. I mean, like night and day difference, wouldn't you say, Ginger? When we were talking about it, it was just unreal, right? So, I could never take my knowledge of the tribe here in Wisconsin and compare that to Malehya's tribe in Canada. Could never do it. Right? So, completely different. Each tribe is a separate nation within the nation of Canada. Yeah. Yeah. Well, ours are too. Ours are too. They have their own land. They are a separate nation. They have their own police. They are separate. They are separate. They just behave differently. I'll leave it there. Let's continue on.
Throws it all in, anything he can think of. He didn't say directly she had something to do with it. He couldn't get himself to. It's very hard to lie directly. But Daniel Martel is a seed planter.
Oh.
And as a matter of fact, so is she. With the Amber Alert request, they don't commit themselves to a thought or a suspicion. Especially not when it's contradictory to what RCMP believes, whether they're right or wrong. But they want to plant seeds. And that's why she's telling you they'll talk to anyone. There is a reason for that. And remember, the priorities here and the intention here is to lead you into a certain direction. When somebody comes at you, and I've had this happen to me many, many different times, many different times, that people message me and the intention, there are no real emotions behind it. There's no specific reasoning, but somebody tries to lead me towards a conclusion of my own, of something that isn't so.
I do agree with him about that. They said, and she said right from the beginning, remember that Malehya's interview was on the 2nd or the 3rd, which is the day after the kids went missing. They'll talk your ear off, right? I really believe that they were trying to get us to look as an abduction at that point in time. I know that not everybody. Oh, sorry, Brenda. You have a good night. I know that not everybody agrees with that, right? But I do believe that. I do believe that. I believe that they were really trying to seed plant, if you will, the idea of abduction right from the beginning. So,
Somebody in a
and by the way, I want to pick that hair off of his keyboard so badly. I know I have OCD.
group had an excellent point. He said Daniel at the vigil said lay off Malehya basically because she has mental health issues, not because she's innocent. Oh my God, Julia, yes, absolutely. Somebody in that group had an excellent point. He said Daniel at the vigil said lay off Malehya. And of course, he's referencing also what he said in his private messages. She has mental health issues, not because she's innocent. So true. He's told us what his intentions are to protect his own daughter, Meadow. And he said, if she has mental health issues and she is suffering, it's going to transfer to the daughter, to his biological daughter. And he doesn't want it. So he's afraid that when she is suffering, the daughter will suffer as well. And he doesn't say, Malehya had nothing to do with it. I take back everything. I was just angry. No, 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 no. He says, you need to lay off her because it's not good for her and my biological daughter. He doesn't say that he thinks she's innocent. He won't say that because he's afraid that if he does say so, the shift of suspicion and guilt will become 100% on his part. And he already, so, I already talked about that.
They will speak to anyone in a store, everyone.
She's overdoing it. Tell me, I think that they were abducted. Tell me that. Is she going to say that?
I agree. She's overdoing it. She really is. Yes, Daniel's behavior was, and jumping in the car, he didn't go out in the woods. They told us the kids walked out into the woods. So why did he jump in the car and go search culverts? Water reference again. Culverts have water, guys. Yeah, and then he tells the searchers they would not cross the road. None of what he said made any sense, right? Which I get. If you're even the step parent of a missing child, you're going to be, I don't know, right? You're going to be shook. You're going to be upset. I don't know. Maybe things won't make sense, but I don't know. There's just too many red flags, isn't there? Just too many red flags to really believe everything that, she's pushing for the abduction and going too far. Oh, they'll talk to anybody. They'll talk to anybody in a store. They're so sweet. They'll talk your ear off. That's too much. Right? And yet, they had issues. talking. So what is it? They'll talk your ear off, or they have issues talking. It's like, butting heads, isn't it? I don't know. Just very strange. Hello, Michelle. Good to see you, hon. Yes, they can charge her. Well, if she's guilty, whoever is guilty, right? Whoever is guilty needs to be charged. But we need to bring those babies home, one way or the other. That's the main thing.
No.
It began on a quiet morning in
She wants you to think of a possibility. She wants to plant a seed without actually committing to this possibility.
early May, in a stretch of Nova Scotia, where the forest never seems to give up its secrets. 2 children, Lily, just 6 years old, and
This picture of Lily, even with all the lint all over everything, I love her eyes here. Guys, she is, they're both beautiful kids, but those eyes right there with this picture, she melts my heart. She just really does.
her little brother Jack, only 4, vanished without a sound.
If you don't remember your childhood, you may be one of us. Which starseed are you?
The children lived in a remote rural property in Nova Scotia. To call it a home might be generous.
The yard was pretty clean there compared to now, right? Maybe an indication that everything was sort of on the decline. Them, emotionally, their relationship, financial situation, everything kind of.
Observers describe the setting as squalid and unsafe. Makeshift fencing barely containing the chaos of discarded debris. A yard.
So, let's look at it.
Scattered with broken furniture, broken toys, and broken promises. There was no playground here, only patches of uncut grass, ATV tire marks in the dirt, and shadows that stretched longer than they should. And yet, within this place were signs of material comfort. 4-wheelers, expensive watches.
Really?
A striking contrast to the children, often unkempt, sometimes dirty, always barefoot in memory.
I don't know if they were dirty necessarily, but the pull-up thing.
Or the electronic duster spray. Something. Somebody please tell me it bothers them as much as it bothers me. Because the hair on there and the lint everywhere, it drives me crazy. I wouldn't be showing it if mine looked like that. Oh my gosh. Oh, and this guy that's talking in the background of this video that Mike is playing, he I think it's AI though, but it's a gift for gab.
Yeah, that's well, I've talked about that, right?
In that house were 5 people. Malehya Brooks Murray, the children's mother, her partner, Daniel Martell, had no legal rights to the children, but held a presence in the home, strong enough to be noted,
It was his home.
divisive enough to raise questions. A 17-month-old baby also lived with them, too young to speak, but old enough to witness. The children's biological father, Cody, was not in the picture, but his mother, the children's paternal grandmother, was. And it's through her that we learn about the most important communications in the first 48 hours after the children disappeared.
Yeah.
Text messages, allegedly exchanged between this grandmother and Malehya, began to circulate online, shared first by the YouTube channel It's a Kringming Shame. These texts have not been officially verified,
Yeah.
and we urge viewers to take them with appropriate skepticism. What you choose.
That's the AI grandpa. Oh my gosh. I'm not here to cut down other channels, guys. So I don't think we're gonna go any further with this one. If you want to see it, the link for the video is in my description. You can watch the rest of it. When they start getting into talking about, you know, other channels, that's just, and I didn't really like the fact that they put up pictures of grandma and all that stuff. Just not what we do here at this channel. We don't go real life, and I just don't feel that that's right. So, ugh. But I do agree, you know, that yes, the place left a lot to be desired. They've openly confessed to lack of supervision, which is neglect. They could be charged with that eventually. You know, there are a number of red flags here, right? Maybe someday we'll just, you know, sit down and list them all, right? Together. Maybe on a members only and play some games and try to figure out all the red flags and all the things we don't know, because we talked about that as well. There's probably more things we don't know than all the red flags. I don't know. So my grannyism for today is there are two ingredients to deceit: a good bit of truth and a few little lies. Billy Graham said that. But it's true, right? And I heard that somewhere, that they say that, or they teach, like in interrogation, in the military, you know, that if you're going to be interrogated, to try to stick to the truth as much as possible. You know, because, and then just add in your lie when you have to. So, I mean, I don't know, but that's usually what people do. We've seen it in a lot of cases where they tell some truth, but then they have their lies. And through statement analysis, we've learned that their lies come out through experiential memory. You know, what did Greg Hartley talk about? A concealed confession, right? Interesting thoughts. Interesting thoughts. So, yeah. So that's all I really had for today, guys. You know, I'm sorry I'm not going to play the full video. I don't go there, and I know that most of you appreciate that. That I won't get into things like that. I will not ever be guilty of cutting down somebody else's channel. And I wouldn't want them to do it to me. So treat others how you would want to be treated, right? So, don't forget that we still have Travis Decker on the run. They're saying he may be in Canada now, guys. I don't know. But all my Canadian friends, please be careful. Please, please be careful out there. Let's keep our thoughts and our prayers towards Sebastian. He needs to come home to his daddy. He really does. Of course, we're going to remember Jack and Lilly. And Jonathan Wang, 21-year-old autistic male, last seen March 30th, still isn't home. If anybody knows anything, call the Arlington PD or his dad. Right, guys? All right. Well, that's all I had for today, guys. And thank you for being here. Please, please hit the like button on your way out. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.